Imagine having the ultimate competitive advantage. Imagine every piece of your content attracting ideal clients to you, not chasing them down. That's not a dream, it's what's possible with the right strategy. And if you haven't heard by now, Jeb and LinkedIn expert Bryn Tillman have written the playbook that will evolve the way you sell. Their new book, The LinkedIn Edge, is your ultimate resource for turning LinkedIn into a revenue-generating machine. You'll learn how to prospect with power, network with a purpose, and build a brand that attracts clients to you. Not only that, but they dive into the fundamentals of using AI so that you won't get left behind. Don't wait. The LinkedIn Edge is on sale everywhere you buy books.
Winners believe they're going to win. You're most likely not going to win every game or every deal. But even as I say that, I'm never going to let myself actually believe that. Yeah, when the chips fall, yeah, there's going to be wins and losses and championships and heartbreaks and all that stuff. But every single moment, you have to believe that you, if not are going to win, that you can win. And that kind of chip on the shoulder helps you. Because whether that's going up against people who are tried and true champions or veteran, have all the accolades and all that, all you need to have is that feeling of, yeah, but I think I can shock some people. I think we might get this one. And that feeling is really powerful. And like you said, momentum. Once you get momentum, you're gone. You're off to the races. Truly.
Welcome to the salesgravy podcast. Today we have the privilege of welcoming Alex Weber, an international keynote speaker, award-winning entertainer, and a unique figure in the American Ninja Warrior history, because Alex isn't just another competitor. He's the only individual to ever transition from hosting NBC's American Ninja Warrior and then competing on its challenging courses himself. He has diverse experiences extending far beyond the screen. Alex is an acclaimed author, notably one of the youngest ever recipients of the prestigious U.S. Lacrosse Coach of the Year award. Through his quote-unquote unstoppable system, which is a title, Alex has positively influenced over 5.5 million people globally, collaborating with powerhouse brands like Apple, Amazon, Under Armour, LinkedIn, all the big names, and even with the most iconic basketball team of all time, the Los Angeles Lakers. Alex's mission centers around empowering people and organizations to shatter barriers, overcome fears, and reach unparalleled heights of performance. Alex, thank you so much for being on the salesgravy podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, for reading that intro there.
I know you. Don't you wish I just followed you around all the time with that sheet of paper? Every time you walked into a room, like an announcement comes out. When people do that to you on podcasts, it feels surreal. You're like, oh wait, did I do all those things? But you have, and so I kind of want to give a little bit more color to that background. I mean, I pulled all that from my research, but from your perspective, what was your journey to being who you are today that helped you resonate with audiences a bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me and for sharing that. And, I definitely share that there's been chapters in life, and really those chapters have stemmed from a place of, I just really felt a passion, a drive to go after this thing. I did that. And then somewhere along the journey, the next thing unlocked. And, my first, let's call it thing, goal, dream was to play college lacrosse. And I grew up as a bullied kid, and lacrosse was just something that I did. But then a coach came into my life, Paul Carcaterra, changed my life, really planted a seed of belief and a dream in me. And when I talk to audiences about leadership and performance, I just think that's so important, what a leader can do about planting these dreams within us. So that was the first real track that I had. But then after I played Division I college lacrosse was really a definitive moment in my life, because then I was supposed to go into business and finance, and that's a great path. But I felt this pull to go after, at the time, entertainment. And that seed ironically then led me to go back to coaching lacrosse and winning championships, being a host and competitor in American Ninja Warrior, and now doing what I do with keynote speaking. So, I'll just say, I think what you said, what resonates with audiences, what I pride myself on is knowing both sides of achievement. So I've had some awesome highs and won awards, and I'm proud of those. Those are great. And I know what that feels like to deal with pressure and nerves. I used to black out from nerves because I would be so hard on myself and so nervous and want to be perfect. And if I made mistakes, I'd beat myself up and shut down. And
Mm.
I think being honest about what it takes to achieve big things, that's what fires me up. And I feel like that's what connects with people as well.
I wanted to explore the duality of your experience, because what you talk about, that coach coming into your life, planting a seed and saying, I believe in you, and I'm going to invest in you, whatever that looked like. It sounds like you have sort of an internal voice that's pretty strong, one that can be quick to criticize before others can get to you. And I think, we talk to salespeople, we train salespeople, and sales is like a high performance sport. So it's almost like golf in a way where what happens in between your ears is the most important part of the process, and then executing is the next step. And you've seen both sides where you've failed, but you've also really succeeded. And I wonder what your through line is from helping people become successful. What is it that starts to happen when that momentum snowballs, when their one success leads to other opportunities and leads to other opportunities? Because when it rains, it pours, and that's not just a negative thing. That's also a positive thing as well. So from your perspective and your teachings, what have you learned about the mindset of winners that helped you go from whatever level you were on to the next?
Such a great question. Two things pop into mind immediately. I mean, one, and I still play competitive lacrosse and tennis and Ninja Warrior. I'm a jock for my whole life. Winners believe they're going to win. And you're most likely not going to win every game or every deal. But even as I say that, I'm never going to let myself actually believe that. Yeah, when the chips fall, there's going to be wins and losses and championships and heartbreaks and all that stuff. But every single moment, you have to believe that you, if not are going to win, that you can win. And that kind of chip on the shoulder helps you, because whether that's going up against people who are tried and true champions or veteran, have all the accolades and all that, all you need to have is that feeling of, but I think I can shock some people. I think we might get this one. And that feeling is really powerful. And like you said, momentum. Once you get momentum, you're gone. You're off to the races. Truly. You might have to build it up another time, but when you have momentum, you really got to go pedal down. And the hardest thing to do is to build that, which brings me to the second point. I use this through line of a system about being unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had to distill down unstoppable, it means you are committed to yourself and you're not going to stop. And if you really are committed to you, what matters, the people that matter, you show up every day, you give it your best, imperfect, right? But that's pretty tough to stop someone, to hold someone back who just won't stop coming. You might derail them a little bit. They might take a wrong turn and delay a little bit, but you're going to get there. So I would just encourage anyone listening right now to really just focus up on this day and ask yourself, what would it look like today to actually and fully commit to yourself and the goals that matter?
You work with many organizations that have, there's not any organization that doesn't have an emphasis on leadership, but many of the organizations that you work with and to the groups that you speak to are people leaders. And you have the experience of being a coach of the year. You have worked with young people in leadership, which is, I think, maybe is maybe not harder, but is definitely difficult, as I've found out as well. You have a mindset. You've always been this person. It sounds like you have a lot of, you lean towards the I'm a winner mindset. There are people who don't. There are people who haven't been told by a coach that says, I believe in you. How do you approach that as a leader so that you can instill some of that confidence in someone else, or give them the opportunity to choose that, if that's the path you want to put them on?
Yeah, I mean, so really it's an identity question. And, I don't walk around or say like, I'm a winner. That's, I don't know if I want to hang out with a dude like that, but yeah, I do deeply believe that about myself, as I hope everyone listening does. With that said, there's been seasons of my life where I've been really depressed, where I've been addicted to substances, where I've been picking up my head and like, am I a failure? So I definitely understand both sides. However, what we believe about ourselves is the most important identity, and that's going to inform everything. And so, for anyone listening, if you are speaking to yourself in this consistently, I'm worthless, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, I'm not artistic, I'm not athletic, I'm not confident, I can't be a leader, oh, this always happens to me, you really are writing the script that's going to keep that momentum going. And so I would just encourage you to get some small proof. Proof means, and I learned this really with American Ninja Warrior, where I thought my sports days were done. Truly, I played D1 sports, and then the world said, you're a former athlete. And I accepted that identity and stopped doing sports. Really got overweight, let myself go, turned to substances, and then had to become an American Ninja Warrior. And that unlocked, because I didn't believe that I could do this. I thought my sports were done, and now I have to become good at this truly insane athletic feat. But what was a pivotal moment to me is I just kept showing up to the gyms, kept learning, kept training, kept working my butt off. And we can unpack that because tons of failures, tons of judgments. You have to kind of weather that storm. But then we'd watch videos back of ourselves on the obstacles to critique them, to learn from them. And I watched a video one day, and I saw that my body could go farther than my mind was letting me. And my mind was just used to, we always fail here. We always fall here. And I watched this and I'm like, wait, I have enough strength. I have enough skill. I've gotten better enough to move beyond this level, but my brain is just so accustomed to holding me here. And that was a big moment. And really then starting to believe, okay, well, I'm not an elite American Ninja Warrior, but I'm also not a former athlete. And if you just keep showing up, I really am big on you earn evidence, because I have a very brutal, active, negative voice too that I've battled. But if you've got evidence that you can show that negative voice that says, oh, you're not going to be able to close a deal. Well, hold on. I did. It wasn't the biggest. It's not going to change my life. But this means you're not credible. And this means I don't have to listen to everything you say moving forward. So stack those small evidence wins.
I want to stay on this for a moment. Your unstoppable system. You mentioned committing to oneself. So taking real action and dedication to commit to the journey that you want to be on. And that takes a lot more effort. And this negative voice that you talk about, the journey you went with on American Ninja Warrior, where you were a host and then you competed, and you mentioned some of the pitfalls you had along the way of getting to that point where you could compete. What are some strategies that help you unlock the potential of the body versus the limitations of the mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think just, whatever those limitations are in our lives, I'm just a big believer in, we got to get in the water. So when I would think about with Ninja Warrior, and even when I was going for entertainment, I grew up in a small town in New York, and everyone kind of was saying, well, why don't you just move to New York City? You grew up outside of New York City. That's not, that's a pretty good place for entertainment. And I would talk to people who were farther along the journey in entertainment, and they would always say, I spent a few years in New York, and then I moved to LA, and then I moved to LA, and then I moved to LA. And I kept thinking, I'm like, well, okay, yes, I don't know any family or friends in LA. This would be a little bit safer. But if I'm going to do this, let's get in the water. And it's the same thing with American Ninja Warrior. It was the same thing with stand-up comedy. You got to jump in the deep end, because either way, you're going to get wet. Whether we dip our toe in and then we slowly ease in and it's days, weeks, months, years later, or we just say, all right, let's cannonball in this thing. Let's get an honest baseline. I always that has been huge in any endeavor, is you got to get an honest baseline of where am I at when I give 100% to this, no holding back, no playing it safe. Let's just see where we're at. And then when you get that, you actually have something where you're like, okay, I could dial up this, I can work on this. But I think so often, because we're so worried, how is this going to go? What if I fail? This is going to be embarrassing, that it takes forever or never at all before we actually get this honest baseline of where you're at. And the last thing I'll say on this is, with American Ninja Warrior, I really learned my first year, I trained alone, meaning I went to the gym, I would do a bunch of pull-ups, and I stunk. I couldn't do the sport at all. But that was a version of playing it safe because that was comfortable to me. And the second I just started saying, I got to train with the best people, and I went and trained with the best American Ninja Warriors at the gyms that they were training at, completely uncomfortable, completely humbling, completely embarrassing. But that's what unlocked actually getting good at this sport. So I would just ask people to reflect on, who are the best of the best that you can start working with, training with, learning with, and to dive in the deep end.
Continuing from that, most people, when they face fear, they typically do that privately. You talked about the gym that you went to on your own for that first year, and then you went to the gym with all the best athletes who are doing the Ninja Warrior thing. I can't imagine the salmon thing they're training for that.
Yeah.
You must have walked in and thought, "Oh no, I'm in the wrong place." But you faced it publicly, and then you did it on national television, which I you know what? God bless you, because I don't think I could do that. And it was a true like pressure cooker environment. What did that reveal to you about your relationship with fear? We talked about identity already, and then growth. So what did your relationship with those ideas? How did that change, or what did it cement for you when you walked into that gym and you started working with those people?
Man, a bunch of things. I'll say one that was really evident right away was, at that time, how much I cared what other people thought. Because I'd walk in and I was a little bit known because I was one of the hosts. So, there was attention and people would watch when I would try the obstacles, and I would fail, and it would be really embarrassing. All these people are watching you, and it's really humbling. It's really frustrating. And I would really obsess over their judgments. I'd want them to see me as an athlete, but I knew that they didn't think I was an athlete. And that was extra hard because I'd been a Division I lacrosse player. I'd been an All-American. So to now really be seen as this unathletic failure was really tough for my confidence. And I would go home at night and I would beat myself up on loop over and over and over again. And that was one of the first learnings of, okay, we cannot obsess about judgments out there or up here, because if we do, we're not going to keep showing up and going after big things. We're going to convince ourselves that we don't actually want this, even though we do, because that's how we'll be clever. We'll be protective. We'll start to just say, oh, no, I'll do this instead, or we don't really need or want this, but we do. So I use the expression when I talk with audiences about give yourself grace as you grow. And what that means is you have to allow yourself to be imperfect. And truly, as long as you are showing up with commitment and belief, you're giving your best, you're trying to learn some things along the way. If you're doing that, that compounds. And there's going to be days where you're really high octane and you're killing it. And there's going to be days where you're brutal. But if you're showing up, giving your best, you're open to learning, that's still a win. You're still making progress. And all of that is going to net out in a winning place, versus if we try to hold off until the day that we feel ready or perfect or super confident. That's a tough needle to thread. And usually we're never going to really feel that way. So again, I just encourage people to get in the deep end. And one more note, and you mentioned this, is you really get to know yourself. And with that, you start to really learn and trust yourself of, okay, I know that I really show up well in these settings. And I also know that when I do this, it's not great. And you just build this track record of real evidence with yourself that then you can trust. Okay, even though I've never been in this new setting, it's kind of like these others I've been in, and I think I can trust myself there too.
I wonder for you as someone who really battled through some really intense pressure cooker scenarios, especially in the athletic world, that when you mention grace, give yourself grace as you grow. I don't think there's that many people in the world who would disagree with you. I don't think you would, if you walk into an audience and you're giving your keynote, when you say those things, 99% of the audience goes, yeah, I should give myself grace. That's a great idea. What does grace look like in practice? Many people haven't been taught that.
Yeah. So I would say you also have to have a real awareness over yourself and what levers that you need to pull for yourself. But here's the deal. Grace is not, let's not show up and do our best today at work. Let's not make that one more call. Let's not go to the gym. Once in a blue moon, yes, that might be giving yourself grace because you're tired, you're beat up, whatever it may be. Holding yourself to a very high standard is self-honor. That's love. I want to go after that goal. This is what I need to do there. So I'm going to bust my butt. I'm going to show up every day. Where I view grace as is in the evaluation, meaning if you did show up, you are doing your best, but you fumbled a bit. You made a mistake. Okay, can we learn from it? Can we hold ourselves to a high standard? But can we also not obsess about that? Can we not dwell on that? Can we not replay, I can't believe we did that. I can't believe we did that. And worse, can we not slowly start to back away now because you took a knock? And I think that's what most people do is we take a knock, we fall a little bit short, and so we quietly start backing away just a little bit. It's not detectable to anybody else. So grace to me is being a little bit easy on yourself of saying, okay, you missed that shot, you missed that call. What can you learn from it? Cool, let's get back to it. And that ends up being a much higher degree of a winning formula than this hyper obsessive perfectionist model.
I really this is a really poignant part of your teaching is that, grace as you grow, to me, just to repeat that sounds like, look, I didn't win. That cold call went terribly. That person, I had someone on my team this morning say that they called somebody, and the first thing that person said was, "You were talking too fast. Can you repeat that again?" And that's a really tough one to come back from because it's embarrassing. I spoke too fast. I'm not really good at these calls, and it sounds like, look, that wasn't the greatest, but I showed up. I made the call, and if I do it again tomorrow, I'm gonna win. Grace is that process, and I think that you really highlight that well in what you do and what you teach people. Before we let you get back to your busy schedule and your busy life, what should people? What is if they're gonna do one thing to change their world today?
Yeah,
what would that be?
Well, and I love it, and I'm putting on my coach hat too. It's that example that you gave. I talk about micro moments, and so that person spoke too fast on the cold call. The person listening said that to them, that micro moment. To me, grace would be not getting flustered and beating ourselves up and botching it, but almost, I'm excited to be here with you. And I went to, and so I really think it's this voice of uplifting, keeping yourself going rather than the holding ourselves back. And my biggest, what fires me up is I aim to be an inflection point. I feel so grateful to do this work with leaders, with high achievers, with performers, with salespeople all around the country and the world. And I hope to be a point of inflection where just kind of coming into their life and really reinvigorating them and reminding them of really who they are and who they feel called to be. Yes, the achievements, yes, the impact, but not this diluted version that maybe we've given in a little bit. We've given into some of the setbacks. We've given in to the freaking changes and challenges of this world every single day, or we've given into what other people have done to us. And sometimes we start to show up as this 85% version of ourselves. And it's still pretty good and we're fine. But I really just get fired up of reinvigorating and igniting us to be like, you know what? From this day on, I'm all in. I'm all in 100%.
I love it. I love it. Be all in.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, learn from you, and follow you so they can keep up with all the things that you got going on in your world? Because you're look at the left side for me is all of these speaking event badges that he has. He's all over the world all the time. But where can people find you when you're not moving?
Yeah, well, thank you, brother. And thank you for having me. So at I'm Alex Weber on all the socials, I'm alexweber.com. And yeah, this is my greatest passion, greatest purpose, and honored to speak for organizations and just grateful to share some time here today.
Awesome. Well, Alex, I can't believe we've got a real American Ninja Warrior on the podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch y'all next time on the Sales Gravy Podcast.
Hi, I'm Jeb Blunt, best-selling author of Fanatical Prospecting, Sales EQ, Objections Inc., and my brand new book, The LinkedIn Edge. You know, companies and people from all over the world come to me to get answers to their toughest sales and growth questions. And that's why I created Ask Jeb. It's a segment on the Sales Gravy podcast where you can come and ask me anything. If you want to get on the show, just go to salesgravy.com/ask. That's salesgravy.com/ask. One of our great producers will get you on and you can ask me anything about sales. Hey, I'm doing a happy dance because you watched this video. Make sure that you click like and subscribe so that you never miss one of our amazing sales training videos.